Hey everyone, welcome to Manifesting with the Murgoddess. Hello, Sarah.
Hello. Woo, now my
Uh,
hair can go.
yes, very, very Little Mermaidy, right?
Little Mermaid, exactly. Well, actually, Captain said, "You make me want hamburger helper." Like, I guess the hamburger helper girl has like their hair like this, I'm like, no,
Uh,
Wendy's. Oh, he's saying
Wendy's,
Wendy's.
Wednesday,
Yeah.
right? Well, but it's better than like St. Pauli, right?
Right, exactly. Cool.
So, um, I wanted to talk with you about time and about the challenges of staying in the moment. So, because you live in the moment to a large extent, more than many people I know. Sort of like what's happening for me right now. Does this feel right now? What's it? And at the same time, you are one of the most forward-thinking people I know, in that for years you've been planning for 2020 Tokyo.
Yeah.
And now during this time of no time, right? Like I was talking to a coach who says, she has a group program, and the question she's been asking people lately is, tell me one thing you did differently yesterday than the day before, right? Because people's lives are in this sort of like taffy pull of sameness, like nothing, can't go out, things aren't moving forward. I'm wondering how you navigate your future goals with, how that informs you living day to day and moment to moment.
I mean, I've definitely been like sharing a lot in like my raw challenge. I've been basically like sharing with people what I'm doing day to day, just kind of, and I never plan it. It's really like I have an idea of what I would like to achieve, and then that can change too. Like I've been super open to what happens, especially, just being in the moment. So I don't set an alarm. So before, like, I was always setting an alarm and I had this time thing of what time it is and that kind of thing. And so basically, I've just been really accepting letting go of time and just doing things that feel good for me, like when I feel like doing it right now. Like, so before I was working out 3 times or 2 times in a day, and I'm still keeping that schedule, but that could change. Like today, I ran 2.5 miles, which, I've said I don't really necessarily like running, but I wanted to challenge myself and that kind of thing. And then when I got home, instead of the intention that I had set of what I wanted to do for my next workout, totally changed. And I was completely fine with doing something that felt more for myself in that moment, you know?
Hmm. So, yeah. So now I'm here in the moment. Um, we don't always get to do that, though. Like to check in, like what I mean, we have, right, when you're training, you'd have schedules. You'd have to be at the pool at a certain time. So is this like an opportunity to sort of play with time differently? And again, it's a weird question. Like, but when things turn back to whatever normal is going to look like what lessons do you think you're learning now?
Um, well, I would say like there's a lot of letting go, because also like when you're letting go of time and what time you need to do things and how much time and all these things, like you can kind of get frustrated and feel uncertain as like, am I supposed to still be training for the Olympics? Like I have these questions like in my mind sometimes, because especially now that like a lot of states are opening their pools. And where I
Hmm.
live, I mean, my county is still stay at home. Like, I'm not, like, we're not even in phase one where I am. And so, like, a part of me is like, wow, like, why did I, like, choose to be here? But then at the same time, there's so much going on with my strength. Like, there's things that I'm able to do right now that I may not have been able to focus on if I was like running around, like going to the pool, going to the gym, all these things. So a part of me, like, there's times when I'm like, I want to like be there. But then there's another part of me that's like understanding that this is part of the process. Like, it's not going to be easy. And then like I'm having dreams of me like actually swimming faster with my quarantine training. Like, my dreams will be like, I just raced and it was my first day back in the pool, and my coach is like, no, like, we have to like relax. And I'm like, no, I trust what I did in quarantine, and then I'm like swimming faster than I've ever had before. So, like, I really like, I'm understanding with myself that it's just so important to work on the things that I haven't been able to work on while I was go, 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 go. And just understanding that when I do go back to a whatever normal will be, right? Like, I'll know that I can look at the things that I'll be able to do completely differently.
So what I'm hearing is that you live essentially an unbalanced life always. Like, we're always living an unbalanced life. And
Yes.
when our schedules and when our lives are turned on their head, sometimes that's an opportunity not to have a balanced life, but to have an unbalanced life in a different way, so that we can have balance. Not necessarily like each day is, I'm spending so much time working, I'm spending so much time training, I'm spending so much time with my family, I'm spending so much time with my music, but that over the course of a lifetime, we may have like very, very unbalanced moments, but somehow over the course of that life or that year, we can get it in. So this is sort of an opportunity to play with, what are some things that I'm maybe, if not neglecting, then not stressing.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, of course, there are times when, like, especially now that I'm hearing like more and more pools are opening up, of course, there's like this inner me that's like, why aren't I getting to a pool, But at the same time, I'm like, there has to be, like, everything happens for a reason. I truly believe that. And I feel like if I can really look at this time as an opportunity to really work on things that I hadn't been able to work on, like, I'm not going to lose anything. Like, I'm actually gaining. I get to keep sleeping in, I keep looking for the things that I get to do now versus like if I was going back to the pool. I would be waking up earlier, I would be doing like, there would be a lot more things that I couldn't really dilly dad, like for what I'm saying, like how my days are going now, so.
So I've heard from various people, I don't know where it originated, but instead of the question, why is this happening to me? It's sort of like, why is this happening for me?
Exactly. Yeah. And a lot of times, like, you have to, not have to, but I mean, you want to just like keep saying that, because when you first say it, like, you still feel like there's a part of you that, like, why do I have to go through this, But then, like, you keep allowing it to kind of sink in, and it's just more and more, I just continue to understand that it's just like, this is like, what a blessing. Like, I get to just work out and choose what it is that I want to do in my day, Like, I mean, there's like, I don't really have to worry about money because all I need is food, And it's like, now I feel like I'm in abundance of so much just being in my home, and not really needing to go anywhere and that kind of thing. So I definitely feel like just this is a time for me to continue working on myself.
Now, if you think back to, old Sarah, before you kind of adopted this mindset, and you put old Sarah in your apartment now in quarantine, would she have found a lot of things to be like really freaked out and upset about?
Yes, definitely. Like, I mean, and I'm like, there's like an example that I'm thinking of in my head is where there was a time when, my car got repossessed. Like, I didn't know where I was living. I was still had this idea of training for the Olympics, and there was no pool. And I would like, I would really be upset with why this was happening to me. Like, I was going from thinking about past experiences, why did I do that kind of thing, thinking of the future as, oh my gosh, how am I going to get to the Olympics? This is crazy, you know, kind of thing. And not even sitting in the moment. Like, I was so far in the past and in the future that I couldn't even see the things that were really great in that moment, you know. And now I can see the gifts that were given to me then, but because it prepared me for now, you know. Like, I mean, at that moment, like, I'm just like in my head, like, this is crazy, like, and I just never thought that it was going to get better. But then the more that I just continued to work with myself, meditation, those types of things, I manifested a pool, you know. I mean, there were things that just were able to happen, you know. And so with all of that, like, now I can kind of look at this, and like, the bigger picture is, I think that we just all have this opportunity to look at our lives in a different way.
Hmm. I had a thought that I lost as I followed you. So I'm having my own. Oh, I think, yeah, I know. I think I know what it is. Yeah. Got it. Yes. Yesterday, I released a podcast interview with Shay Seaborn, who is a trauma activist and educator and trauma survivor, and was talking. The conversation was about how to stay off the trauma train during the pandemic, because she said is that for a lot of people that, you know, we have fear, insecurity about the future, uncertainty. We don't know what's true and what's not true. A lot of people are facing economic hardships. And the thing we usually rely on to get us through, community, is either truncated or eliminated or mediated by screens. And so a lot of people are, this moment is triggering their old traumas. And I know from your story, you have a lot of old traumas. And I'm wondering how you use this time either to, excuse me, to not have them triggered, or maybe having some of them triggered is actually a good thing, so you can bring them up and see them and resolve them. So I'm wondering what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, so definitely I have been triggered a lot. Like, even today was like a perfect example about how my neighbor decided to complain that I was like working out, you know, in my home, right? And it like brought up all this like anger and like, what, you know, and all these things. And I just allowed it to, like, you know, be like, I just had like this, like, just, you know, I just allowed whatever I was feeling just to kind of come out. And then, like, when I like sat back and like just thought about like, what could I like learn, you know, from this particular scenario, and it was just such a beautiful thing for me to see that, like, you know, these, like, maybe these neighbors, they're not having a great experience right now, you know. Maybe them doing that was like, instead of them tuning in like I do for myself, maybe to them reaching out or trying to blame someone else for their unhealthy things or whatever they're doing, right? Like, maybe that was them just like reaching out for help, right? And so I just I was you know, I was able to allow it to be triggered, and then kind of just release it and understand that it was something for me to learn from, you know. And that's kind of how this quarantine has been, is where there are times when I'm triggered, and I really look inside and see, what is this teaching me? Because of course, like, if any of you have been through trauma, like, there's always going to be lingering trauma that you can always clear and you can always get rid of, so that you can embody this new self, this new energy that's coming in. And it just, it allows all those things that aren't true about you anymore, you know, because the old Sarah, all those things aren't true anymore. And so for me to be the new Sarah, like, it can't be inside of me anymore, you know. So it's gonna come out, whether I just embrace it and allow it to, is just, I feel like, is the best way, because it just feels so much better if I can just like yell just for a second, you know.
Yeah. So I know this isn't the point of the story, but I'm curious, like, how did you respond externally after going through your internal process?
Well, I didn't actually have to physically talk to anyone. Mike had answered the door and just kind of was saying that he was in a meeting, so it was kind of like, okay. But I didn't actually do anything externally. It was just mostly internally, and then for me, I'm just I'm not gonna stop, working out or anything like that. Like, it definitely like would of course bring up fear, like, oh, am I like, doing all these things? But at the same time, my thought was, well, I mean, in an apartment, you live with people. And so if you want your quiet space or you want your own space, technically you can have a home, right? So I feel like these are just things that you cope with when you're living in an apartment, like, I mean, there could be so many things that I could think about that I just dislike, right? But if I'm always focusing on the things that I don't like, they're always going to be pinpointed in my reality. And so I just try to look at things like, hey, all right, this is a learning experience for me. Like, if you look at everyone as a mirror of yourself, what can you learn from it? Like, what if it was only us, like yourself, and you're looking out and it's like, what can I learn from this person today? Oh man, I don't like this person. But what is it about that person? Maybe it's nothing about the person at all. Maybe it's something that you don't like about yourself. And by you facing it and just like looking that in the mirror, is like the best thing that you can do to like release trauma, for my experience anyway.
Yeah, and I can see, for myself, if that had happened to me, I would have gone into shame, right? Like it would have triggered a time when I was little and I was bad and I was punished. Like, someone disapproves of me, I've transgressed, and I would have eaten that feeling, right? Like junk food. Like, that would have soothed me for the time being, or I would have eaten the feeling by lashing out at them. Who the F do you think you are?
Oh my gosh, that was like, I was literally just talking to myself, like acting like, and that like was kind of my release. Was I immediately went into this anger thing of like, what? Like, and so yeah, totally, like, but if you get it out, it just makes it better.
Yeah, and I think there's something very important. I'm rereading a book called In an Unspoken Voice by Peter Levine, who is a trauma therapist, and he has a process called somatic experiencing, where he says you want to experience everything around the situations that could cause you trauma, and then around the things that could trigger it, including he says, the rage and terror. Right? Like, don't push those down or think that they're bad or make them go away. Don't act on them, but let them flood your body. And as an adult, understand that they're not going to hurt you, so that you can feel them fully, so you can release, prior traumas when you were a little kid and you couldn't feel the rage because it was too dangerous, right? Or the terror was too all-encompassing. So all you could, you couldn't have lived with it, so you repressed it. So this is now, when these things happen, use them as opportunities to feel the terror and the rage, and know that you're bigger than both of those.
Definitely. Yeah, that's exactly what I did today. Was like, okay, I'm just going to like cuss myself out right now, and that's going to make me feel good. And it did. I felt amazing. I was like, I even, after they came, I did like 5 burpees just because I was like, hey, like, here we go, like, this will be my ending of my workout kind of thing. But yeah, I definitely think it feels way better just to let it out. Of course, we don't want to be going and acting on it, but the fact of doing it and allowing it just makes it way better.
Right. And I imagine if a time comes where negotiation is necessary, you'll be much more effective, and will lead to a good outcome for both of you, as opposed to if you're still sort of holding on to the resentment.
Exactly. Yeah, because I don't need to answer the door like WTF, right? Totally. Yep.
All right.
Cool.
Cool. I think that's a wrap.
That's a wrap. See you next
See
week.
you next week. Thanks, Sarah.
Toodles. Bye.
Bye.